Hey, my name is Andy, and yes, I have done it again. We have bought another BMW, but here is why this BMW Z3 is a guaranteed future classic. Let's go. If you checked out my recent video where I bought a absolutely broken, rubbish BMW 3 Series, I have now since sold that car. I owned it for about a week, and we didn't do too badly. We made a tidy $1,500 profit. Today, we're talking about the BMW Z3 and exactly why I think this car is a future classic. Now, this isn't the inline six, this isn't the 2.8 or even the 3-liter inline six. This is the puny little 1.9, but I think it is a very overlooked car because of that exact reason. Its bigger brother gets all of the hype and this car just gets left in the shadow. So without further ado, this is why this car is a guaranteed future classic. This car was available as an automatic or a manual, but if you bought this car as an automatic, you are an idiot. Plain and simple. This car needed to be the 5-speed manual. It is as simple as that. And now that is the first reason why I love this car, and it is a guaranteed future classic because manuals in general are a dying breed. The manual was super popular once upon a time, but these days everyone is phasing that out in exchange for a double clutch automatic. And so any car with a manual gearbox is super rare. I've now owned 15 cars. This Z3 is the 15th car that I've ever owned. And I have to say, I've had automatics, I've had manuals, and I pick a manual every time because it is so much more enjoyable. Sure, a double clutch automatic is faster, especially if it's a Porsche PDK, but that's not what driving is about in my book. Driving is about enjoyment and involvement. Otherwise, you're just commuting and there is no point. So a manual gearbox is a big plus for me. Now, let me show you something really exciting about this car. Ignore the blacked out grills, that was not my design. I personally don't mind it, so I'm not gonna change it, but I would have preferred the silver. Now under here, we have the amazing, powerful, incredibly slow 1.9 liter BMW 4-cylinder. But in saying that, this is a very frugal engine and it was actually one of BMW's best built ones. So this is not an N46 or any of that rubbish. This is, I don't know, but I'm gonna put it here. We've got a cast iron block with an aluminium head. Not that I'm gonna be tuning this car, but it means it's a very stable platform. Timing chains don't go wrong on this thing. If you give it a lot of love and you just service it, the 4-cylinder, the 1.9 4-cylinders in this are a gem. And that is another thing. This car, when it came out, was designed to compete with the MX-5, which only had a 1.8 liter engine. So this car was plenty powerful for its rival. And then the fact that they even gave you a straight 6 was just extra. It was awesome, it was amazing. It's tiny. I mean, if you look here, engine block starts there and ends there. That's it. It was designed so that you could fit a 6-cylinder in there. But the funny thing about this car is the nose of this thing is so long. You have this ginormous bonnet, this tiny little engine, and then just nothing. Just this empty gap, and this is full of foam. It's so bizarre. Another little interesting thing to note about this BMW Z3 is it doesn't even have OBD2. So they introduced it in 1996 or 7, around then, but this car was built before that, so it actually uses its own connector. Now, I don't know what that is, and an airbag light has come on because we'll get to that, but basically I need to figure that out so that I can fix my car. But anyway, enough of this. Let's close this up. This Z3 is really cleverly designed. Now, for some reason, in the 90s, car manufacturers, especially European ones, didn't want to give you cup holders. They just didn't. So instead, they made sure to give you a cigarette lighter and an ashtray, but they did not give you any cup holders, especially because this car is so small. Putting cup holders in the center here is just a guaranteed way to knock them over. So they just didn't bother with that. So if you want to drink in this car, you got to put it between your legs. They were super innovative with this car. They were super clever. You had these little storage boxes up here. You have this storage box in the center and you push these, you can fill it with whatever stuff you want and you could lock it. So it means you could park your car by the beach with the roof down, lock the storage boxes, lock the trunk, and nothing will get stolen. I mean, the entire car might get stolen, but it's okay because this is the millennial anti-theft device, so it's all good. Check this out. This is probably one of my favorite things about the car. You open it up and right here in the sill plate, you've got this cool ass Roadster logo. It is amazing. I think it just makes the car look so much nicer when you get in. Nice little BMW touch there. That looks awesome. Now, this car is a 97. It has 160,000 Ks on the clock, but it is still, in my opinion, in pretty good condition. I got this car for an outstanding price, and these are very quickly becoming expensive and they're going up in value. Now that is also why this car is a future classic, because the value of them is already taking off. Even the 1.9 litre 4-cylinders fetch north of 10,000 AUD these days, never mind MX-5s. MX-5s are currently one of the highest priced, maybe even overpriced convertibles at the moment, because you can't even get an NB MX-5 for less than about 10,000 AUD these days. It's insane. And these cars are around that mark, but are quickly going up in value. So I think these are a little bit underappreciated right now. One thing I will say and concede is the ride is a little bit rough. I've owned 2 MX-5s and I own 2 NBs, in fact, and the ride in this is not as good. Another reason why this car is a future classic is because it is just designed beautifully. These gills on the side here, for example, are awesome. I really love them. I think they look incredible. And it's the styling of this car that for me really sets it apart from the MX-5. The MX-5, in my opinion, was a little bit conservative, but BMW went all out. So they took the headlight design just here from the E36, and that kind of looks cool, and it's in keeping with the BMW kind of lineup at the time. They also had normal sized kidney grills, not the disgusting massive ones that they put on new BMWs, appropriate size grills, as well as, you know, just the overall proportions of the car, the long bonnet, the short rear deck. It's just a really cool looking thing. That's what really sets it apart for me. Also the build quality. Look, it's not as reliable as an MX-5, fine, but the build and the way that it's finished is just awesome. Everything is just screwed together. There are no squeaks, there are no rattles. It is all really solid, and I really like the colorway that they've got going on in here. It's just a nice place to be. It doesn't squeak, it doesn't rattle. You've got the classic BMW interface, the chunky indicator stalks. Down here, you have a digital clock that also displays the temperature. The heated controls are super warm. It works really well. So you can have, in the winter, you can have the windows and the roof down and it's super warm. You've got power windows, you've got power seats. It's just a little bit nicer in every way than the MX-5. Now, both of the cars share a notchy gearbox, and it's super nice. Just really tight, well put together gearbox. None of these long throw ones. I once had an Alpha 147 and the throw on that gearbox was just from here to the bloody moon. It was ridiculous. Let's go take this Z3 out on the road and I'm gonna show you exactly what this is like to drive. But first, look at this. This is what BMW thought was a great key. Now, bearing in mind, this car, adjusted for inflation, was worth over $100,000 back when it was new, and this was the key you got. Just this plain looking key with the badge on the end there, and it is worn off. But without further ado, let's go take this thing out for a drive. Oh yeah, there is nothing like being in an open top car. It's my favorite place to be. It just puts a smile on your face every time. The best part is, you can make a whole lot of noise, a big old racket, and you're literally doing 60 k's an hour. You're not even speeding, but you sound like you're going a hell of a lot faster. The steering feel is nice and weighted. We have hydraulic steering, which in this is just exactly what you need. Electric steering would have just ruined this whole experience, because with the hydraulics, you can feel every pothole, every crack, and every speed bump. Not that that's a good thing, but just look at this place. Such a nice place to sit. The steering is nicely weighted, and the noise when you really lay on this car is incredible. Let me show you what I mean. It's awesome. This little thing is awesome. Once you've driven a car like this, you'll truly understand why they're future classics. Anyway, that's my BMW Z3 Daily and exactly why I believe it's a future classic. If you guys enjoyed today's video, as always, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to follow along on the journey, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Sometimes that just pops off. Not often, but it does happen.